Hello and welcome to the 1920s. My name is Robert Elliott and I will be your guide. Let's start with the weather. As an overall trend for the decade, it was a little on the colder side, but nothing too catastrophic or bad. Let's go to sports. College sports have really taken off recently. Actually, they've been able to make some monetary success. Some other new sports include football and golf, but the biggest sports still remain baseball and boxing. Speaking of baseball, let's go to this clip of Babe Ruth hitting the game-winning home run.
September 30th, thousands come hoping to see Ruth hit the 60th home run that will break his record. But in 3 trips to the plate, the Babe doesn't do it. The season is almost over. It's now the 8th inning of the game with the Washington Senators, and it will be Ruth's last time at bat. Washington's Tom Zachary gets ready. Strike 1 is called. It's high, a ball. Zachary gets ready. The Babe has done it. 60 home runs in one season. One of the greatest records in baseball.
Attaboy to Babe Ruth. Okay, next up we have an interview with a good friend of mine, Mr. Linus Hornbeck, a very opinionated man. I interviewed him earlier. Let's see what he had to say on the state of America. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Robert Elliott, and I will be interviewing Mr. Linus Hornbeck. Hello, Mr. Hornbeck.
Mr. Elliott, it is very good to meet you.
It's very nice to see you as well. So, I understand you're a very opinionated man.
I am indeed.
So, in this time of turmoil, I'm going to ask you a few questions about the state of America, what you think the state of the world is.
Please, continue.
So the Ku Klux Klan, what do you think of them?
Now, this is a very controversial issue, Mr. Elliott. There are a great many sides to this, but I think that our founders knew what they wrote into the Constitution. And I think that since the Civil War, there have been tensions growing in the South and in the North and everywhere. And I think that it is a reaction to changes that people don't want. So, their methods aside, the Ku Klux Klan stands for a peoples in American history that have over the past 40, 50 years started to lose their grasp upon government.
Yes, so it sounds like you're a bit of a nativist then.
I'm a reactionary. Now, this encompasses nativism, and this encompasses the Ku Klux Klan, I suppose, as well. But I believe in American values, and in American ingenuity, and in American success. So yes, I am a nativist, and I think that immigrants coming here and taking our good jobs, and our manufacture, and ruining the very foundations of this country. Yes, I am a nativist.
Well, it seems you feel very forceful about this. How does this relate to religion with the Jews and the Catholics? Especially in Europe, there's been a massive uprising of them. How do you feel about that?
This country was founded upon a few key principles, and in those principles was religious freedom. The one institution in the world that fights it with every grain of its being is the Catholic Church. And I think, and I know in my heart that when the Pope puts his grasp upon our democracy, upon our government, upon our republic, when this happens, America loses its greatness, and the principles upon which we were founded fall apart.
Yes. So, all of this religion, the Pope and everything, is based out of Europe. And based off of your sentiments, I see that you're not especially a fan of European interaction, but about the country, the continent itself, rather. How do you feel?
Now, Europe has brought us a great many good things, but recently I've seen nothing but conflict, strife, death. My son died upon the fields of Verdun, Mr. Elliot, and I will not stand idly by while these people come to our lands. When they take our money, our jobs, our freedom, it's un-American.
I'm very sorry to hear that. It seems very understandable that you, like many, are so in favor of this isolationist policy that we've taken up recently.
Well, it's a necessity, especially with all the Chinese coming.
There are many of them. How do you feel like this impacts the economy? How do you feel about the economy as a whole?
Now, I think that the progressives had the wrong idea. I think grouping people into various demographics or saying they're poor, they're rich, they're middle class is wrong because it comes down to the individual. And that's what the Republican Party has stated. Roosevelt aside, Woodrow Wilson was one of the worst presidents we have seen since the founding of this country. That is why I stand with Hoover now. And guess what? I did not start in a rich family. I worked my way to the top and I invested, and now my stocks are wonderful.
So, on the topic of policy, how do you feel about alcohol in America, especially with all of the prohibition and the, let's say, criminal activities it has caused?
Well, I'm always against criminal activity. And Mr. Elliot, I guess you could say that I am pro-prohibition.
Oh, well, I feel like many of us are that way. Mr. Hornbeck, however, a great many are not, as would be represented by the jazz movement, especially over in New York. Yes, how do you feel about jazz and that movement?
I think that alcohol has caused strife since the very beginning of civilization. And saying that no, people shouldn't use it, and the government should ban it is a good thing. And this jazz, this culture of throwing away principle and throwing away any type of moral responsibility is ruining our country. It is ruining the greatness that America once was.
You seem to be very opposed to a certain F. Scott Fitzgerald. He recently wrote a book on The Great Gatsby. Have you read it?
What an utter piece of trash.
Oh, really? Why do you think that?
First of all, the writing is just awful. The writing aside, though, the content, I don't want to read about people throwing their lives away. I don't want to read about young money. I want to read about good American values. We're not bimbos. We don't throw away our money. We use it well. Like Andrew Carnegie stated in his Gospel of Wealth, we have the responsibility to the lower class. Not the government. The individual must push for a greater societal welfare.
So would you say that The Great Gatsby has sort of, in ways, dragged America's name through the mud?
Certainly. I think that for anybody, whether you're in Canada or all across the British Empire, if you read something like that, I don't know what your opinion of America will be. Perhaps it'll be like my opinion of Europe is now, but it's an atrocity.
Well, we're getting a little short on time, so let's close out with one final, albeit controversial, topic. How do you feel about women's rights, the rights of women? There's been a large movement recently, especially with the flappers and such, to give them more abilities and
I'll just stop you right there, Mr. Elliot. My wife stays home, she takes care of the children, she cooks for me, and she certainly doesn't drive, because women driving, you know how it is. But I think that there's often a misconception when it comes to the vote, because they pushed for suffrage for so long, but if you really think about it, there's a head of a household, and that is always the male, and you have, you haven't seen the changes in demographics of voting that you would have expected with women beginning to vote. I mean, you see some pressure on politicians here and there, but in the end, trends remain relatively similar because the vote was previously a family vote, not a male vote. And now we are fighting a culture that has risen out of biology, and has risen out of tradition, and has risen out of biblical teachings, and I think that it is ruining this country.
Thank you, Mr. Hornbeck. That will conclude our interview for now.
Mr. Elliott, I am honored.
We here would like to thank Mr. Hornbeck for coming on to the show. Next up, we have an ad from one of our sponsors, Coca-Cola. They're very refreshing, especially in this goddamn hot weather. Thank you very much for Coca-Cola for sponsoring us. They really have given us so much. Earlier this week, we interviewed an infamous Al Capone on accusations of a exchange between him and a rival gang on Valentine's Day. Let's go to that now. Hey! Involved in the Valentine's Day shooting.
That's ridiculous. I had no part in the shooting.
You guys dressed up as bulls and murdered those innocent people.
They weren't so innocent, but they shouldn't have been bumped off.
What dough was in it for you?
I've earned all my money legitimately. I'm a legitimate businessman. What do you think you are, you ragamuffin, you sap? You know who I am?
Was it drugs? Was it hooch? Was it guns? What are you after?
You go ahead and try to prove that. Take me to court. All they want is proof. You got none.
They will catch you. They will find you. You will be behind bars.
Good luck with all that. Now get out of my establishment before this nice talk becomes less nice. You understand?
You trying to threaten me?
I got some very protective friends. They don't know your name yet, and I'd leave before you do. Capiche?
You'll never get away with this.
What are you going to catch me on? Tax evasion? I'll scram.
Thank you for tuning in. The world will be a much safer place once Al Capone is put away. Next up, Mrs. Kellogg has put together a guide on how to be a proper housewife. In this day and age with all the flappers, I feel like that will be very needed.
When preparing to wash dishes, put the dirty dishes on the left side of the sink and the area for clean dishes on the right side of the sink. Fill a bucket with 100-degree soapy water. Clean the dishes from this water and rinse the dishes when necessary. Then place clean dishes on a drying rack and dry and sort after all the dishes have been washed. First, wash as many potatoes as you need for your recipe thoroughly and put them into a bowl. Find a seat that your husband isn't using at a table. Sit down in the chair with your back straight and your shoulders up. Using a knife, pull the potato peel towards you, removing the peel. Put the peelings in one bowl and the peeled potatoes in another. Continue peeling the potatoes until you have your desired amount of potatoes and they are fully peeled. Start from the furthest corner of the room and sweep in small sections until all parts of the room are clean. Once you finish one section, sweep the dust into a small pile and move on to the next section. When you have swept a few sections, carefully bend down and put the pile of dirt into the dustpan using a smaller broom. Remain upright and maintain good posture as you stand and continue to sweep the next section. Make sure that the whole room is well cleaned. If a shoe has fallen to the floor, do not bend at the waist and reveal yourself. Instead, stand right behind the shoe and step your right foot backwards and slowly lower and bend your knees until your right knee is on the ground. Pinch the back of the shoe with your right hand and carefully rise from the position, keeping your back straight at all times. If you have to draw the blinds in your home, approach the window on the right side and stand facing the window. In one swift motion, reach your right hand up with a rag over your hand to prevent getting dirt on your hand and grab the window pole. Pull the blind down to the appropriate length and check with your husband that there is enough light, but not too much.
Thank you, Mrs. Kellogg, for that great performance. Next up, we have a short animated film made by Walt Disney on his new character, Mickey Mouse. I have to say, it's quite entertaining. Thank you very much, Mr. Disney, for your fabulous work. I'm certain it will go on to be a great thing. Next up, we're going to Mrs. Mary Jane in Paris, where she will be showing off the newest artistic movement there, Art Deco. Very interesting stuff. To you, Mary.
Thanks, Billy Elliot. My name is Mary Jane, and I'm here at the Exposition Internationale des Arts Décoratifs et Industriels Modernes in Paris, France. France is bouncing back from the Great War, and people are all dolled up and pouring into these modern buildings constructed just for this 1925 exhibition, such as the Hotel Dion Tour Collect du Nord. A new style of art is being born here that will shake the world. It's coming to be known as Art Deco. This new style is drawing on tradition, but incorporating bits of mechanization, luxury, fantasy, and reality, all in one exciting combination. This new style is freeing and expressive. Let's take a tour around the highlights of the Art Deco movement. Hello, I was lucky enough to actually visit a home in Paris, and they happen to have a side table just like the one by the company of master craftsmen in the style of Émile Jacques Roarin, a pioneer and promoter of Art Deco. His style was able to introduce the classical aristocratic style into a modern blend, and he embellished the old-fashioned style with sparse, luxurious bits, such as the ivory you can see in this wonderful side table. In the gift shop after the exhibition, at one of the lovely stores, I was able to find a candle-light replica of the famous Walter von Nessen's standing floor lamp. It's setting the trend of modern lamp design. Lamps are allowed to be radical and eccentric as room accents, according to the very famous Ladies' Home Journal. Look how similar it looks. That's all from Paris. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Mary Jane, for that very interesting exposure. Next up, we have a dance, the Charleston, performed by Betty Sue and Joe Franco, two amazing dancers. Let's go to that now. Thank you very much for that dance. Now, it's a lovely day outside, and I think that we should enjoy it much like these people in New Orleans. Let's go see them.
never seen a quaint old southern city, just think of New Orleans. If you've never seen that town, boy, it's a pity. Oh, there's nothing like New Orleans. It will remind you of old-fashioned lace. A glass of wine will greet your smiling face. And if you ever see a black-eyed man like mine, boy, well, you're right in New
remind you of old-fashioned lace. A glass of wine will greet your smiling face. And if you ever see a black-eyed gal like mine, boy, oh, then you right in it, right in New Orleans.
Well, folks, that'll wrap it up for this decade. Thank you very much. While the stock markets are crashing and my livelihood is destroyed, I'm going to enjoy some quality time with this dog. Thank you for this exciting adventure through the Roaring 20s. Goodbye.